Welcome to On My Way to Wealth, the podcast where busy Gen Xers can learn financial tips as they navigate life on their way to wealth. And now, please join your host, Luis Rosa.
This episode is brought to you by Latin Excellence. Visit latinexcellence.com. That's Latinx, CELLENCE.com or latinxmovement.com to learn more and shop our merchandise. You are excellence. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of On My Way to Wealth. My name is Luis, and I'm your host. Today, I have a very special guest. This man needs no introduction, but I'm going to give you one anyway, in case you have not heard of him, if you've been hiding out in a corner of the world. George Kinder, he revolutionized financial advice for over 30 years by training over 3,000 professionals, probably closer to 4,000 now, in over 30 countries in the field of financial life planning. He founded the Kinder Institute of Life Planning in 2003, after 30 years as a practicing financial planner and tax advisor. His books and trainings are all about freedom. In his new book, A Golden Civilization and the Map of Mindfulness, currently available on Amazon, Kinder draws on 50 years as a mindfulness practitioner, over 30 years as a mindfulness teacher, and his experience training financial advisors globally to challenge the basic concepts of economics, our understanding of democracy, of space-time, and our own hearts. His objective is to bring great levels of freedom everywhere. His 3 books on money, The 7 Stages of Money Maturity, Lighting the Torch, and Life Planning for You are considered by many to be the seminal works in the field of financial life planning. Almost 20 years after its publication, his classic, The 7 Stages of Money Maturity, was again featured by the Wall Street Journal. He has written 1 book on mindfulness, transforming suffering into wisdom, as well as a book of photography and poetry, A Song for Hannah. Kinder has received many prestigious awards, from being the first winner of the Financial Planning Association's Heart of Financial Planning Award to one of the 35 most influential people in financial services and one of the top icons and innovators in the financial planning industry. Kinder is a dynamic presenter, speaker, and is an artist at heart, from poetry, photography, and even singing, which we'll find out soon. Some of you may know him as the father of the life planning movement. And without further ado, welcome, George. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Wow, Luis, that was something to hear all those things. Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Well, thank you. I mean, I started this podcast over 2 years ago, and if you told me that at some point you will be a guest on my podcast, I would just not have believed this. So I am in awe, and I'm very appreciative of the opportunity.
Wow. Well, you're the next generation, and it's anyway. It's a thrill to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited. So I was reading one of your books, Lighting the Torch, a while back, and I saw that in the book you mentioned that you didn't originally set out to be a financial planner, which was kind of interesting, because you're an artist at heart, right? So tell us a little bit about what made you choose like taxes and financial planning as a career.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that we can't always do what we really are passionate about if we can't pay the bills, and that was really the issue for me. Was I discovered sometime in high school and then in college, I discovered the arts, and I'd never known what they were or that it was possible to be an artist. That was not part of my family upbringing. So my family was into becoming professional. So I thought I'd be a lawyer or whatever. And I was really good at math. And in college, I minored in economics. So I was really good in economics as well. So I wasn't very good at writing. Believe it or not. Here I've written how many books, and I've got like 5 more in the hopper, and I wasn't very good at writing. So, or at the arts in general. But I knew I had a passion for it that had come alive. And so when I was graduating from college, I had to figure out, how do I make a living? And some people said, well, you're passionate about the arts. Why don't you do graphic design, because you love to create. I was painting then a lot, and or why don't you love writing? Why don't you become a journalist? And I thought, it's going to take me a lot of work to become good as an artist. It's going to take me a lot of work, and if I burn out all my energy by using all that energy for the arts to make money at it, I'll never become the artist I want to be. So I looked around and I thought, what is the thing that I'm best at that I could pick up in a hurry and easily. And it was money, it was like, it was, the game of it, and then the numbers of it, and figuring strategies out and all of that. So I went back to graduate school in accounting and set up my own business and worked part-time for many years, with the bulk of my time writing and painting. Eventually we will talk about music as well. And using the financial work really just to get by, to make a living. And over time, I became good at it, and I found the honor of it, the nobility of it, that there was something really good in this and necessary that people were crying out for, much as I was crying out for to be an artist in some way. So that was really the story, and learning that, recognizing that human quality to money was transformative for me.
That's amazing. And, it's very impressive to hear how you had the ability to realize that you would have needed so much effort to develop your craft. So you decided to go this path in the meantime. I mean, just having that clarity, I think, is priceless. It probably saved you several years and a lot of heartache.
Well, I was cocky, and I had a lot of chutzpah. I had a lot of, I'm going to make sure I do this and do it in my own way. So somehow, rather than, I started off I was hired by one of the big 8 firms, and in accounting, and I started working there, and I just didn't like it. And so I left it and set up my own business, and that enabled me to work part-time, on very little money. I lived on very little money for a while, but it enabled me to have time to do the things that I was passionate about.
Got it. That is awesome. So how the, your experience working with clients as a financial planner then came about, like the whole life planning movement and your famous 3 questions?
Yeah. The life planning movement, for those of in your audience that don't know what it is, it's really about marrying kind of meaning and money. And it's about marrying meaning for each of us and realizing that the most important thing about money is delivering us into our dream of freedom. And so there I was with this dream of freedom that I couldn't do. And so it started out being very selfish, very self-centered in a way. I wanted to live a life of freedom, and I didn't know how. And totally. So I thought maybe mastering money, I could learn enough that I could support the life that I wanted to live. And during that process, as I was working with clients, it started off as a tax practice. And as I was working with clients, I kept meeting these people who had been part of this generation. I was part of the 60s way back. And so I thought everybody wanted to have that freedom that kind of we felt in the 60s. And I found so many people, this was in the 70s and early 80s, late 70s and early 80s, that they were losing their dreams. And that they were falling back into just working a job. And when I saw that, both my heart broke for them, but I also got angry. And I thought, this ain't right. This isn't how people are meant to live. People are meant to live with their dream of freedom. So I created this. You call it. It's called the 3 questions, as you mentioned. I designed different goal structures that would inspire people to think about what is it that I really want to do. And then using financial work, I learned to work with financial advisors to inspire them to work with these people to deliver them into their dream of freedom. So it came from that wanting to be an artist way back, but having the skills of a financial person.
Yeah, it's a great pairing because I think there's definitely an art form to being a financial planner. It's more than just numbers. And, one of the things that you emphasize is how important it is to be like a great listener, as well as one of the great skills. And, that's not taught in the CFP coursework, for sure.
No, and that's, the listening is such a profound thing, as you know. We have to listen to ourselves first off. And I think that's what I somehow was able to do as a young man, was to listen so much that I knew I didn't want to go a traditional route. But it's important for each of us. And the 3 questions helps us listen inside ourselves to what is it that is most meaningful. What would really make me really excited about being on this planet at this time and feel that I'm doing something really, really worthwhile, inspiring. That's really what it's about.
No, certainly. And, for some of my audience members that don't know what the three questions are, would you mind just giving us a quick recap of those?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they start just money, because it's hard to ask a personal question, particularly if you're a financial advisor. Lewis knows this, and probably a lot of your listeners knows it, but people don't trust financial advisors. And there's a very good reason why they don't, because for the longest time, financial advisors were primarily salespeople and primarily just kind of delivering product. And so there's this natural holding back. So when I designed the questions, I had to design questions that could break through that barrier of trust with anybody coming in to see me. So the first question was really about money. If you had all the money that you needed for the rest of your life, what would you do with your life? So it's like winning the lottery, what would you do? And everybody loves that question. You love to think about where you'd travel and what your home would look like, and, who you'd be spending time with, and all of that, the things you love. And by kind of breaking the ice with that and letting your clients know, or letting yourself know that this is important to dream, first of all, we can go to the deeper levels, because most of us aren't going to have all the money that we need for the rest of our life in a way that we understand it for a while. I mean, at first we think that's being as rich as, I don't know, Warren Buffett or Elon Musk or, Queen of England. So the second question goes to this more serious level, and it's a legacy question. And it's if you suddenly discovered, you went to the doctor and they were going through their usual tests and everything, and they come back to you and with some serious problems. They tell you, we're terribly sorry. You have a rare ailment. You're going to be really healthy for the rest of your life, as healthy as you feel right now, anyway. But you're only going to make it 5 to 10 years. I don't know when that moment of death will be, but it's certain to come in that period between 5 and 10 years from now. So the question is, what would you do with your life? Who would you, what would change for you? And it automatically we go and we think, what is it that's really important? If I only had 5 to 10 years left, what would I be passionate about accomplishing and delivering into the world? If we have children, boy, they become really important for us. If we don't, there are other legacy issues, but legacy issues in general, often family and relationship, friendships come up, but they can also be back to the arts, or they could be spiritual. They could be wildly creative. They could be political. They could be about the environment. So these things come up, and people come out with much more serious things. And then, after that question, we ask one more question. It goes even deeper, Lewis, as you know. And it's a similar question. You go to the doctor, and this time the doctor stuns you by telling you they've blown it, and they missed the signals entirely, and you have had a rare ailment, and it's come to term. You only have 24 hours left to live. So the question is not what would you do with that 24 hours. It's reflecting on what you'd anticipated doing, who you'd imagined becoming.
Yeah, that's deep. That's deep, because it makes you look at what was missed as well, right?
Exactly. What did you miss? Who did you not get to be? What did you not get to do? And that's the deepest question for all of us, really. And it's that question that we build a life plan on. The others will pull little pieces of. But it's that question, because that's the question of greatest meaning for all of us. And we want to make sure that all of that is somehow fulfilled, and in relatively short order. And what we discovered was when we did that with our clients, when they were fulfilled in those areas, they came alive. And their life was on fire with entrepreneurial energy, with love, with compassion, with creativity, with all the stuff that, with integrity, with, the stuff that they really want, with kindness, the stuff that they really wanted to be. And boy, we knew we'd hit something then. So that was what we developed. And then that became a movement called the Life Planning Movement. And that's now in 30 countries all over the world.
Wow. And that's then, where their skill comes in for the life planners to then develop a plan around those goals and dreams, right? That were awakened.
Yeah, and you do this well, Luis. And you mentioned it earlier that the best life planner is the best listener. And it's not. I mean, people think it's all about the three questions, and it is, but it's really listening. Even before that, listening to just kind of engaging, and then listening to the answers, and giving the client the room to roam, and not filling them with your ideas. Those are the best advisors.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes, and I've been guilty of this myself, we rush to put our financial planner hat on very quickly and just immediately start thinking of solutions as the client is speaking. Just a natural instinct, right? Because we're problem solvers. But have to take a step back and take off the advisor hat for a second and let people just express themselves and talk, right? I would imagine you probably needed a lot of tissue in your meetings because there would have been a lot of tears, happy ones and not so happy ones.
It surprised me at first. I wasn't expecting it, and but I was prepared. So, truthfully, for me, I think that I'm. There are some of our planners who touch the heart so quickly, so easily. And some of the trainers that I have that train the programs that I've designed. And I probably have just as much, but I think of them when I think of the ones that have really touched those heartstrings. And boy, they have the Kleenex ready. Yeah.
Wow. So let me ask you this: for someone listening that for one reason or the other isn't quite ready yet to work with a life planner yet, is there anything that they can do themselves to kind of experience life planning for themselves?
Well, it's one of the reasons that let me just watch that and say if that's really true. I don't know if it's one of the reasons that I wrote, but I did write 3 books. And one of them is a self-help book called Life Planning for You. And it has a self-help website also called Life Planning for You. And I think it's lifeplanningforyou.com. So you could go on the site, you could get the book and run through it. My other 2 books, you mentioned Lighting the Torch, and the one that started the movement was 7 Stages of Money Maturity. And it's probably the bestseller of the group. And it goes deep into the psychology of it in many ways. So one can do that. I think that's if you're not ready to actually engage in life planning. But my advice would be, if you like it, find a life planner. And even if you don't have the means, there are life planners who work on an hourly basis. And it was very important to me. I came from a poor area of the country, a real rough and tumble area. And it was very important to me to give back to the people there, and that everybody deserves a life plan. Everybody has a dream of freedom, and everybody deserves to live that dream of freedom. And what could be a better career than to serve those people?
Love that. Love that. Yeah, I think our profession can be so impactful, probably more than a lot of others that are more transactional, because people sometimes trust advisors if they have a really safe space with things that they might not even share with anybody else, or other professionals in their lives. Yeah. I'll be sure to share all the links to how people can search for a life planner and learn more about how they can, get exposed to it and all your books, et cetera, in the show notes for those that are listening. Now, this question here is something I have struggled with a lot, and it's just the importance of being present. And I know that you practice mindfulness. So, what are some things that you recommend for us to achieve mindfulness in today's world? We have this mini computer in our pockets, and it's always something screaming for attention, right? Whether it's a notification from social media or a news alert or a text or whatever. What are some of the things that we can do to practice mindfulness and being present?
Yeah, I'm going to give you one basic thing, but I'm going to give a preamble to it because uh, when you speak, Louis, I hear a bit of a longing for the simplicity of that present moment, and I understand that, and that's a beautiful thing, and I think we all long for that. There's a way when we do our three questions and we think about the ideal life that there's something about it that's peaceful, that's calming, that where we're able to be present, and that's one of the reasons that I think we're life planners. But I want to say something else that finding this place of presence inside of ourselves, that it really is a way of listening. I mean, let me bring it right out. I think you should practice mindfulness, just flat out. Go find a course, do it online, get on one of the apps. I've written a book on mindfulness, as you mentioned, with a bunch of series of simple ways of doing it, and I've done a series of videos that inspire that as well on how to do it. But what mindfulness does, and for those of you who don't know mindfulness, you're just paying attention to the sensations of breathing, primarily, closing your eyes. And I recommend doing it 20 minutes a day. And the reason is that it develops a habit of listening to yourself. You're letting go of all that extraneous stuff, all the computerized, all the button pushing. You're letting go of all of that stuff. And you're attempting to anyway. And just to pay attention. And at first, it's just the breath. But what you find is that there are deeper layers inside of you that are peaceful, that are extraordinarily present and alert and alive with vitality. And we don't quite realize that. There's a study. A lot of people are into behavioral finance, as you know. You've probably given a number of podcasts on it. But my favorite scientific experiment over the last 20 years or so was done by Daniel Gilbert at Harvard, along with Matthew Killingsworth. Daniel Gilbert, for years, taught the most popular course at Harvard, probably is still teaching it now. It's on happiness. And he gave everybody a smartphone, thousands of people all over the world, and put them on a program. And that program would ping them periodically throughout their day. And as soon as they were pinged, they had to immediately enter, am I happy or unhappy? Am I present? Right? Am I focused on what I'm doing, or am I not? Am I distracted? And what are you doing? Okay. And what he did was he discovered that the strongest correlation for happiness is being here, is being present. Mindfulness is the art of being present. And with it, so much else opens in our lives. So I strongly recommend a mindfulness practice.
It's like you're tuning in, right?
Yeah. You tune it in, and but the practice, what it does is it establishes. It's like anything else. It's like learning to play the piano or the drums or the guitar. You got it. At first, you're all thumbs, and it's really difficult, and then you begin to really get it. But it takes practice to do it. It's incredible.
I currently do some meditation and some breathing exercises, and I find that sometimes the thoughts still come in, even like I'm trying to focus on the breath, and then I'm still thinking about the stuff I want to get accomplished, stuff on my to-do list, and it's just kind of hard to kick those thoughts back out so that you can focus. So sometimes it's better than others, and sometimes like I feel like I wasted the whole time because I was still thinking about other stuff.
What's really interesting, because I think what you've just shared is true for everybody. And so many people have that experience and then they back off and they go, I don't think I'm any good at this. And then they don't do it so much. But the truth is that every time you try and you fail, and it's difficult, or you have a bad experience, or you can't quite get there. What's happening is that you're at the cutting edge of your ability to be present. And what you've just done is encountered this block. You've encountered it, and you've gone at it again and again and again and again. That's going to pay off. But it won't pay off if you go, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. And I can tell you, I've had thousands of those meditations in my life. But you keep going at it, and what you'll find is that you'll get through that barrier. There'll be other barriers that'll come, but you'll get through that one.
Got it. I like that. So it's important to stick with it. Yeah, I like your analogy of learning how to play the piano or something. It's not just something you do once and you're perfect at it. Yeah. Good stuff. So let's talk about music now, since we're talking about the ability to tune in and reach for something, I guess, deeper. So I listened to some of the songs of your joint project with your daughter, London, Shine Through, and tell us a little bit about that and how it became, how it came about. How did you decide? Everything, just like from the titles of the songs and everything you guys sing about.
As a boy, the thing I think I wanted to do more than anything else was to be, in those days, it was a crooner. It was early stage rock and roll, but kind of grew up in the country, so it was kind of influenced by country. And I think, Richie Valens was a huge influence for me, Buddy Holly, and then when Dylan came along, it was like I finally understood that being a musician, you were able to be an artist. And I was able to see someone stand on their own 2 feet, basically, sing the songs that they'd written, tell a story, sing out something that made a difference in the world, that was a song of protest that actually made us all stand up and go, yes, we can do something here. And that really had a huge impact. And by then I was in college, but I didn't grow up in a family that kind of played to that or that gave that as a possibility. My community of friends weren't musical in that way. So it was a career or a possibility that kind of got left, long ago. I'm 73 years old, Louis, and those dreams were, when I was 14 and 16 and 18 and maybe 20, 22, and I let them go, and so now I have a 17-year-old daughter, a couple of 17-year-old daughters, and one of them's been really active on one of my books, working with photography with me on one of my books, and the other one, London, I knew was really musical. So we had this COVID summer, right, where we couldn't do anything. We were locked down. And I was thinking, oh my God, the kids are going to hate us. They're teenagers. They want to get out. What can we do that would be fun for both of us, would be instructive, where I could even hire her perhaps and pay her some money for it and all. So I thought, well, she's incredibly musical, as you heard. She's got a beautiful voice, and she composed the music. Yeah, beautiful voice. And so she composed the music, and I wrote most of the lyrics. She wrote one song that was purely hers. But we drew from the protest songs in the 60s. We took the current stuff that was happening. We've got a song about, what was it called? We called it the 14, but we had many different elements about COVID, about propaganda, about the loss of democracy in America, about kind of the falling of the executive branch in America. We talked about the 14th Amendment, which was the right to vote that came out after the Civil War for the people that had suffered for so many years. And we had a song called 99 Cities. There were 99 cities in that summer that were tear gassed. 99 cities across America.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. So we sang a song to the 99. I used to listen to it. It's a tough song. And we name them. We go, I don't know if we got through all of them. We probably got through 45 of them. And we just put them in rhymes, and we just named them and talked about the chemical weapons, because those chemical weapons that were used against us, against our people, Americans. We have a song about Wuhan, about the doctor in Wuhan in China who blew the whistle. And it's a wonderful song because the people in China, he was, it was one of these situations where China tried to block it all and wouldn't tell anybody about the COVID. And he came out with it. And when it finally came out, the people in Wuhan, every night for a week or something, blew a whistle at night at a particular hour. And so we sang a song called A Whistle for Wuhan. And it was about him because he died of COVID, poor fella. We have a song in there. Anyway, we've got that's the Shine Through song is a sign of is like, you're down and out, and you're protesting, and they're beating you down, and you just keep shining through, man. You just keep shining through.
No, it definitely spoke to me. I think there was something to the effect of, I'm maybe paraphrasing, but your life's a wreck, and they have their knee on your neck, and that really stood out to me. And I don't know if this was intentional, but I felt that the pairing of your two voices, like one of them was you, like a very firm, adding like a levity to it, like this is serious stuff. And then this angelic voice comes out like, hey, there's hope, And I was like, well, I just loved it. To me, it really touched me. So.
Oh, wonderful. It's on Spotify. If anybody wants to see it, it's here. There's a few videos of us too. She's really good. And I had to practice to get my singing back. But thank you for that.
That is awesome. Yeah. Thank you. No, I mean, you're living proof of practicing what you preach, right? So you're going after the things that really mean a lot to you, right? So, and speaking of which, I guess I'm going to steal a little bit from one of your questions. It seems to me that you've accomplished a lot in your life, right? From creating the Institute of Life Planning, all these recognitions, several books, music, albums, photography, poetry. Is there anything else that you wish you had done, or what's next for you?
Well, the COVID has been a scare for me. I haven't told everybody this, but I'll tell you and your audience. I may have long COVID. I had pneumonia 2 years ago. 2 years ago, and I've had a post-viral fatigue since then. So in spite of that, it was one of the things that inspired me to do the album with my daughter. I went, if I'm going to be laid out by this disease or whatever, I'm going to make sure the rest of my life I am singing. And I am delivering into the world what's important to deliver. So I've really been focusing on my third question. So one of the things that you're about to see come out, and you can get a free subscription. I'm about to put out another book of photography and poetry, and that will soon turn into 5 books.
Wow.
And we're giving them away free online once a week in your email, getting a photograph and poem in your email, talking about this experience of living on the pond, which is where I live. I'm an environmentalist. Among 2 of the songs in the album you listen to were environmental songs, and so they're strongly influenced by mindfulness and by Zen. But I think they're beautiful. If you get a chance, look at them, Louis, and see what you think. So I'm coming out with 5 books. The first book is the weekly edition that's just being launched in this next month, and then I'm going to come out with spring, summer, winter, and fall and winter over the following 2 years. So that's, and then the other thing, I'm alive with all this stuff.
Unstoppable.
If you ask me what's the thing that I haven't done, I'm really disappointed that the earth and our democracy and issues of social justice in America have fallen. It seem to be in danger. I'm really disappointed, and I feel that if there's anything that I can do to bring about change that will make our democracy, our planet, and our peoples all together sustainable, I want to do it. And so I've got 2 other books about freedom and about democracy and the fiduciary, a fiduciary relationship, institutional relationship to all of us that I think might help the situation. So that I'm still focused on all of those things as well.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. We definitely look forward to that. I will be sharing all of your links on the show notes. Is there anyone in particular that you'd like to share for people to keep up with what you're doing? Any financial planner that wants to learn more about life planning, or anybody in the audience that just wants to keep up with you if they can?
Well, the one for financial planners, or if you're looking for a financial planner, would be the kinderinstitute.com one. And the one that's keeping up with me and all the wild stuff I'm doing with photography and poetry and song and everything else would be georgekinder.com. And we're finding a way to integrate the two at Kinder Institute. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and I know that you have some social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and YouTube. So I'll share those as well for people to follow. That's amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I have one more question for you. I usually like to ask this question, and it's, if you were in an elevator ride with a complete stranger that you'll never see again, and, it's just a short 30 to 60-second ride, I guess, what advice would you offer them on their quest to inner peace and freedom?
I think the most important, we all know the answer. We all know the answer. And I think the most important thing is for us to trust ourselves, to listen to ourselves, and to trust what we know as most authentic. What is our authenticity? To trust that more than anything else, to follow that. If I were to break it into 3 elements, I'd say do mindfulness, become life planned, and know that civilization is yours. Civilization is yours. You are meant to make a difference in this world. So mindfulness, the inner life of that, become life planned, so you really are doing who you're meant to be.
Yeah.
And know that civilization is not somebody else's. It's not theirs. It's yours.
Oh, that's deep. Yeah, I was thinking that it might take some taking chances, some just doing something you're scared of, right? As a result.
Yeah.
No, this is good stuff. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you again for sharing. And I can't wait to listen to this back because I know there's so many gems in here. So I really appreciate you taking the time. I look forward to seeing you, once all this blows over, right? And hopefully next spring or something, life goes back to normal.
Yeah. Maybe in Hawaii, maybe in Hana.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
It'd be wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you so
much,
much.
George. Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you have any questions, send me an email, luis@onmywaytowealth.com, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to On My Way to Wealth. If you have any questions, please send me an email at luis@onmywaytowealth.com. The information provided here is for information and education purposes only. The opinions expressed herein are solely those of myself, unless otherwise specifically cited. Material presented is believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations are made by my firm or myself about other parties' information or accuracy or completeness. All information or ideas provided should be discussed in detail with a financial advisor, accountant, or legal counsel prior to implementation.